Everybody, welcome to the Why Ukraine live stream. Hopefully, this one will be without technical errors and craziness, but we'll see. We'll find out. I'm going to take just a moment here to check on what's going on the Facebook side of things. I'm hoping that we get some people from Facebook. So I hope to see everyone. Yeah, it looks like I am officially live. That's awesome. So I'm going to just... Hey everyone, I am live now from Ukraine. That looks good. And I have to talk myself through this, otherwise I'm not going to get it done. I've decided not to schedule my live streams. Rather, instead, I'm just going to do it. Just going to jump in and do it. And then, go from there. Okay, put up the thumbnail. Beautiful. Good enough for government work. All right. Oh, wow. Last one. Thank you. Yeah. Subs going up. It's super cool. Yeah, a lot of people have been joining, which I really appreciate it. I'm kind of waiting. I was just waiting to see when Mercado Media would end. I think he's kind of coming to the end of his stream, so I decided, okay, now is a good time to start. I'm just bringing up all my systems. I like to have my other computer and other devices, because I found out that, sometimes I think I'm streaming and I'm not, or, I think I'm streaming to Facebook and I'm not on there. Okay, Bell. Hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining. I'm just making sure I can verify that I am actually, in fact, working. Okay, that's working. And I tested... Oh, thank you very much, last one. Awesome. You know what? Shirkan has not been with us the past week, and I think it's because he might be traveling in Ukraine right now. I'm not sure. He goes to Ukraine pretty frequently. So I know he's been in communication with Tony, who's, of course, the volunteer that we sponsored to go back to Ukraine. And maybe on Sunday we'll hear from Tony and see if Tony's had some communication with him. But I expect we'll find out. Yeah. Okay, are we live on mobile? Come on, James. Why am I not seeing myself on the mobile side? Oh, okay. All right. We're up. Why am I not seeing myself on the mobile side? Stupid sound. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. The Bundestag, that's Germany, immediate transfer of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. Okay, but turn around and we hear at the same time Germany is saying don't expect quick transfer of German Taurus missiles. Why? They're saying, "Oh, it's so bad and we hate it," but they're like, why? And it's the same thing is true for America too right now. Um, are they worried about escalation, which is again a ridiculous argument? Oh, what's very blurry, K Bill? I'm blurry. But you might have your what's the word? Come on, James. Your resolution turned down on your YouTube. You can do that, or if YouTube will do that automatically if you have a low bandwidth. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's what I thought, K-Bell. Yeah. Sounds about right. Okay. So just thanks everyone for here who's in already. I think we've got some people. The big announcement today is the return of more than 230 prisoners of war who have made it back. And some of them were there a long time, and cleaned my glasses. All right. So, I just look at these guys. I see some of them. I mean, you can tell they're happy to be back for sure, but just the 1,000-yard stare in the one guy on the left-hand side in this picture, to me, just says it all. Really just says it all. And I just, I wonder. These guys look real skinny. I wonder what they looked like before. Before they were captured. Because we've seen the before and after pictures. And yeah. And I've thought about this a lot myself. Not to make jokes about it, but in the barracks we do. Well, we try, but it is probably the one thing that is the scariest thing for any of us as soldiers is the prospect of being captured, because it's rape, anal rape every day, and with all kinds of implements and daily beatings, and we've seen it, we've heard it, we've seen the results, we've read the stories, and how is this should be like in any other situation in the world in the 21st century. This would be like front page news, and now, as we're going to see, it's barely makes the radar. Yeah. Ruski Mir. In the barracks, I would just tell the guys, work on your kegels, everybody. Work on your kegels. So so you can break their dick off with your ass. That's the that's the joke. It's not much of a joke, but dark humor. Let's talk about something cool. I want to, if you don't know about the Diduch, real quick change of subject. Let's just change the subject. So before they had Christmas trees in Ukraine, they had these Diduch, and it's basically a small miniature. This is like a Christmas tradition, and I don't have any around. We had them last year, but I don't have any just sitting around. It's basically a sheaf of wheat. It's very interesting. It's another example of sort of pagan traditions in the. I mean, obviously, Christmas trees are a pagan Christmas tradition as well, but you could say folk traditions. Okay, whatever. But this whole sheaf of wheat thing, and Diduch means grandfather spirit. Deed, like I think it's related to the word dad. Actually, our word dad is their word deed or did or deed. Like they have Dietmaros, frost, or frozen grandpa. It's the Soviet version of Santa Claus was called Dietmaros. Moros means frozen. So what's very interesting about this is the Diduch is traditionally either the first or the last, or both, sheaf of wheat to be harvested. Okay, so I don't know if I made that clear. So the first wheat of the growing season would be taken and put together into this, called the grandfather spirit, and kept typically until the next year. And it would be put on the mantelpiece in the center of the home, and or the last. And so it was supposed to embody the spirits, but also it has a practical purpose when you think about it, because these Diduch become potentially the seeds for the next year's harvest. And so if you're taking the first sheaf of wheat, the first wheat, and you're replanting the first wheat every single year, your wheat, can you buy them in Ukraine? I do see them. They're naturally rather fragile. I have seen them in like tourist shops, but they're pretty fragile, so they're not super common, as you can imagine. But yeah, I do see them only around this time of year, though. Only at no other time. So if you just imagine if you are constantly taking and saving the first wheat over many harvests, you're naturally, and you replant those seeds every year, you're naturally going to have wheat that is harvested earlier and earlier in the year. And if you do the same thing and you take the last wheat that is harvested and save that and use those seeds to plant, you're naturally going to have wheat that is harvested later and later in the year. So it's almost like a intuitive breeding program. I mean, a lot of these, pagan traditions, or even religious traditions in various cultures, have some sort of a wisdom to it, and you have to wonder if they knew what they were doing for thousands and thousands of years. Okay. I want to, while I'm thinking about it, I want to make a note. Recovery center. Because because I have something I want to talk about later. But I don't want to get off track. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so just something good to talk about. Yeah, so good things, right? Return prisoners, Diduch, Taurus is coming. It's coming. Germans are just slow, you know. But it's coming. And when it comes, it's going to help a lot, you know. I just came across this article right before our stream today, and this thing where it says, so Russia repeatedly refused to take its POWs. Okay. I said in my hey, Greg Watkins, thank you for coming. Thanks for joining. Oh, Isa, great to see you. Fantastic. I guess did Mercado finish his stream? Were you guys over there? I was trying to start just as Mercado's finishing. So, but anyway, so yeah, so we're talking about the prisoners of war that have been returned. Yeah, farming lessons. Yeah, why not? You know, you never know what you're gonna get with me, man. Seriously. It's very interesting. So Russia repeatedly refused to take its POWs Ukraine offered for swap. So that's the topic here. We must think about why. Okay, why is that? So the theory that I put forth last night when I should have been sleeping is that Russia probably wanted to use, and we know there have been cases of Russia trying to use its own POWs. You know, because there's a lot of them. So I've heard something like 10,000 POWs held in camps in Ukraine, Russian POWs, and Russia was trying to get those POWs to, you know, try to break out, try to start an armed, you know, uprising, probably wherever they are in the western part of Ukraine, and it just never happened. It just never happened. And in fact, if you watch Volodymyr Zolkin, who, if you haven't been watching Volodymyr Zolkin, you should. I'm happy to. Yeah. So Volodymyr Zolkin. Oh my gosh, Zolkin Volodymyr. You want to watch this one because he's overdubbed it, and what he does is he interviews Russian prisoners of war, and it's just interesting to see. It's interesting and hard. But you know, you get a real good insight into the Russian mind, basically. But you can see that a lot of these guys, when they get into the when they get into the Ukrainian prisoner of war camp, they expect to be beaten, they expect to be tortured, they expect to be raped, and they're not. They're treated very well. They're fed. They're given everything they need, and they don't see any Nazis around, and they're like, wait a minute, we've been lied to. And slowly over time, it begins to dawn on some of them that, hey, maybe if that was a lie, maybe the entire Ruski Mir is a lie. Oh, everything comes crashing down. So I think that Russia finally realized that not only is it not working, this idea that they were going to have to use Russian prisoners of war behind the lines, it's actually, you know, potentially fomenting their own revolution. The longer they keep those prisoners of war in Ukraine, the more likely it is that they're going to come back and they're going to be de-zombified, you know, deprogrammed from the Putin cult. So get those guys out of there as quickly as possible is probably what they're realizing. But also, I wonder if we won't know, and probably nobody but the Russians know this. Ukrainians are constantly negotiating um, for for uh, for prisoners. We don't know how many. I don't see anywhere that it's told me how many Russians were exchanged. So I wonder if they had to exchange like a lot of Russians, like 5 times more Russians, whatever, or if the Russians were looking for particular prisoners, particular people that they wanted to have back. Um, Operatives, people with certain specific knowledge. Like, why do they agree to this now? So they wouldn't, the thing is Ukraine wouldn't know who these particular people were either. They probably just give a list of POWs. Hey, Cheryl, thanks for coming in. They probably, so the Ukrainians just give a list of POWs and say, okay, how about these guys? You want to take these guys? Will you take these guys? And so they may not know for certain. Yeah, 1.5 billion in losses. It's crazy, isn't it? So anyway, maybe this thing will continue, but it's very interesting how Russia. I mean, we know this, but Russia doesn't think of its soldiers as humans, merely as operatives, as assets. And whereas Ukraine is like, yeah, we value every single one. So, but also I'm wondering what those soldiers who go back, are they just going to be turned around and put right back to the front? Are they? I'm sure that's what's going to happen. Are they going to be debriefed, re-indoctrinated? Yeah, that's right, Greg. Greg says, so screwed up the Russians commit war crimes, get treated decently, and Ukrainians defending their land. Yeah, and there are lots of horror stories. That's what I was saying earlier about the prisoners of war who've been sent back, which I closed the article, but just the 1,000-yard stares on some of those guys. Um, Trying to convert USD to ruble instead of ruble. The root words of ruble and ruble are actually the same. I don't know if you knew this, but hryvnia, the help me, brain cells, James. Hryvnia is the Ukrainian, unit of money. Okay, and it's directly related to I need to go to my YouTube page so I can show you. Burp, burp, burp. Come on, James. I have to talk myself through these things, especially at this time in the morning. So I went to. I don't know if you saw if you've looked at my shorts at all. Wait, that sounds weird. My short videos is what I meant to say. But so I went to the museum at Pechursk, which is these awesome caves that you can't take pictures in, which is really sad, but it's a massive monastery in Kiev. And they have a really cool museum there. And I got to look at these Scythian gold artifacts. And I'm going to put this all together in one big long like compilation video, like a walk
Just look at the
tour of Pechursk.
intricate detail of this.
Um, but so the label next to this Scythian gold
I reckon it
artifact
was worn by
would be like
some
a king's
Scythian
necklace,
queen
a ceremonial thing that he would
here in
wear,
Ukraine.
really ornately made,
They
possibly of
called
Greek
themselves what they
manufacture.
thought of
So the
themselves,
Scythians and Greeks had a lot of trade going back and forth.
who they
Um,
thought they were.
but the word
Look at that detail right
for
there in the
this
middle.
the
These guys looks like
old
they're
word
wearing
for
like
this
a
in Ukrainian, and the
face, like
label
a sheep
the
skin or leopard skin
on the
maybe.
next to it on the
I wonder
wall
if this tells a
said
story. You can see
Scythian
a
grivna,
horse being torn apart by
or a
goats
word
here
very
and there.
similar to
Actually, we have
hrivnia,
several of them.
basically. Um, Oh wow, K-Bell.
With
So
lions, it looks
your
like
your mother is Ukrainian? That's super cool. Huh. Yeah, the Russians pronounce it
just look at
ruble
the
too. Yeah, so
intricate detail of this.
the hryvnia originally meant weight, like a heavy weight,
I reckon it was
or
worn
like
by some
gravity. It's related
Scythian
to the word
queen
gravity or
here in
gravitas.
Ukraine.
You know, if you have gold, you have
They called
gravitas because
themselves what
you're
they thought of
important. You can
themselves,
kind of see that connection there. And uh,
who they thought they were.
for most of
Look at that
history,
detail
when
right
gold
there in
has
the
been
middle.
used as money, it wasn't used as
These
coins.
guys, it looks like they're holding up
And
a
in most
fleece,
parts of the
like a
world,
sheep
like for example in
skin,
Viking
or leopard skin,
Scandinavia,
maybe.
um, people would
I wonder if this
wear
tells
their
a
gold
story.
on
You
them
can see the
and um,
horse being torn apart by
uh,
griffins down there. Actually, we have
then
some
break
image of
off pieces of their jewelry or cut up pieces
the
of their
lions.
jewelry
It
and
looks
use
like.
it to pay for things, like just like coins. So
Just look at the
that's where
intricate
the
detail
word,
of
and I
this.
forgive me for saying it again, uh, K Bell, but the word
I reckon it was
ruble,
worn
meaning
by
rubble,
some
as in
Scythian
broken up
queen
pieces of things,
here in
that's
Ukraine.
literally what the ruble means. It's
I
broken
wonder what they
up
called themselves, what
pieces
they thought
of
of
hryvnias,
themselves,
the Ukrainian
who
word.
they thought they
So
were.
it's just, you know,
Look at that detail right.
I don't know, more of discreditation of the Russian propaganda about, you know, Ukraine isn't important and Russia was first and all of that bullshit. Um, so, you know, I want to skip this. I want to skip this article. I want to save it till the end. But I do want to talk about. Here we go. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about some things that are missing from the media, and I want to talk about. Wait a minute. I just closed that. All right, hang on. Yes, this is okay. I want to talk about the something that the media is not talking about right now. Okay, and this story may seem unimportant. Nova Postia increases the number of branches and parcel terminals in 2023. So Nova Postia, it means new post office. Okay, so we're in the middle of a war. Ukraine's getting bombed left and right. Right? How how is the post office building out more? Okay, what this shows you is how ineffective Russia is at defeating Ukraine. Okay, I was just thinking about this. Everybody's freaking out about all these bombs and missiles coming and hitting Ukraine, and I think back to where were we a year ago? Where was I? I mean, I was a year ago. I was here. I was literally in this house, and I had no power for 6 to 8 hours a day. I wanted to start doing these live streams and making more videos and things, and I couldn't because I didn't have power most of the day. I barely had enough power most days to do my regular teaching of English here. And a lot of times my students couldn't come to class because they didn't have power, you know? So, and now Russia just hit us with the largest missile attack that they ever have this week. And what did it do? What did it do? Now, you could argue, this is what I was getting at here. You could argue that Russian Federation has changed its strategy and is hitting defense targets, and that may be true. But it shows that they even realized that what they were trying to do last year and what they were trying to do at the beginning of this winter season was stupid. Even they know they're dumb. But yeah, I mean, if you want to know why I started this channel in May of 2022. If you go back and look at my original videos, I think my first video was in May. And I was making stuff, and then in about October or November of 2022, which is when the missiles started really hitting the Ukrainian infrastructure all across Ukraine, I couldn't make as many videos. I had to make a lot of shorts. I made a whole bunch of shorts, and even all the way up until April of last year, we didn't have regular electricity, at least in the part of Ukraine where I was. So ironically, I was in the western part of Ukraine for the first part of last year, and we had worse electricity than the central or other parts of Ukraine, which is really strange. But there you are. Yeah, so I mean, it's easy to get all wrapped up in the doom and gloom, but we have research now showing that almost all the Ukrainians who left the country in 2023 are already back. So 32 million border crossings. The difference between those who left and those who crossed back is below 1%. So, we still have the people who left at the beginning of the war, but and a lot of those people may never come back. That's absolutely the case. But now things have kind of settled down. And so, to the Russian trolls, who pop up in my comments saying, stuff about the demographics of Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you are projecting. Okay. By the way, last one. Yeah, I've been getting my packages quite quick from Ivano Frankivsk. I got to tell you, man, like so if you saw my post yesterday, which I was finally able to, there we go. Check it out. So this is the 3 boxes of socks and rain gear, and everything else that was purchased. This is what you guys did. I mean, you guys did this, man. It's freaking awesome. And I know it just doesn't seem like a lot, but I gotta tell you, my commanders were really happy. And maybe you don't think that socks are important, but it's something that's constantly being burnt through. And the fact that these are coming from Ukraine, so people in Ukraine got paid for these socks, most of them, and although some of them came from Turkey, but regardless, they were purchased in Ukraine and sent from Ukraine. So the money's all just going around in a big circle in Ukraine, which I think is just as important as in terms of like supporting the economy here and things. So about 15 kilograms total of stuff, and this is what you guys did. So my commander was just super stoked. And as soon as these get distributed out to the guys, we'll get pictures of them like on their feet or whatever, and I don't control when they get distributed, but I was promised that that's the case. I want to talk about, since we're on that subject, I want to talk about my page here. Please, by all means, in fact, I have some outstanding orders for socks. So some people purchase socks. Right now, the situation is that I think I need to change what I have up here on the shop. A little bit of a problem is that some people have contributed money for a plate carrier. Some people have contributed money for plates. One person contributed money for this. And it's none of it is enough to buy any one of those things. So I think I need to reduce and or change the items that I have featured on this page, because I don't like having orders unfulfilled and people's money just sitting there in my Shopify account for months and months. Now one thing, one of the most important things you can buy are tourniquets, and it's not 2,000 grivnas. That's for 40 tourniquets. It's $50. Now I am looking at different types of tourniquets, and tourniquets that might be cheaper but just as high of a quality, and that's why I put on my I put this up on my community thing because I want to get some reviews. I want to hear about this from soldiers who are out there. This is a Ukrainian-made tourniquet, and I understand that there were problems with them at the beginning, but that they have improved considerably. And the price of this, 500 grivnas, what is that, like $15 or something? Or $20? But yeah, Greg, yeah, socks, and especially wool socks, super, super important. So what my commander said on this subject was, hey, we actually get a lot of tourniquets. We get about 50 tourniquets a month. This is my commander for the training of the International Legion. We get about 50 tourniquets a month. So don't we've only learned to speak, James. I've only had 3 tourniquets purchased, okay? Because they are, a little bit pricey. That's why, because these are like for cat tourniquets, and the prices can be anywhere from about $40 up to $60. So I made it 50 just to make it even. Cat tourniquets, and there's also a tourniquet called the tactical mechanical tourniquet, which is also used by the United States Army and NATO. But what my commander says is, don't bother sending us just 2 tourniquets. So this means that either somebody needs to buy a lot of tourniquets, or we're going to have some orders just outstanding, sitting around. I'm not sure what to do about this, but regardless, I'm going to change some things up on here, and I will put forward to the people who have donated. Like if you've donated to ceramic plates, but we only have $100 for ceramic plates, and they cost $400 or $600. I may ask those people, hey, would you like to put that money towards something else? That's the point. Oh, Cheryl. Brandon Mitchell used to buy Dnipro brand, but cats are better nonetheless. Okay, that's good to know, because I was looking at the Dnipro brand as well. I wonder, is everyone's boot size still USA size 9? I will tell you that I wear a size 13 USA size, which is size 47 or 48 here in Ukraine, and it's almost unheard of. Most of the time when I tell people, like if I'm in the shop and I say I need a size 48, they're like, their eyes get really wide, like, what the hell? They've never even seen that size of a shoe before. So but at the same time, when I do find a size 48, a lot of times 46 or 48, well, 46, I've learned I can't wear a 46. It's too small for me. But when I do find a size 48, they're usually sitting at the back. They've never been touched, and they're on sale, discount, because nobody wants them, So, yeah. Yeah, the socks with dog hair. Oh, yeah. I actually, some of the socks that I was able to purchase for the Legion, I think I've got about 5 pairs of socks made of dog hair. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, and actually I have some old Soviet officers' boots big tall leather ones that I'm having resold and waxed specifically to wear in the trenches, and they are actually lined inside with wolf fur. Super warm. Yeah. Yeah, I have a real problem with, in fact, since I came here to Ukraine, like the first 2 years that I lived here, I had some shoes that I bought in Germany that were size 46 steel toe boots, and I'm pretty sure that they gave me bunions because they were too narrow and just a little bit too small for my foot. You will hear people will tell you, "Oh, size 46, that's the same as size 12." No, it's not. No, it's not. And another thing I would say is that, like when we're talking about clothes, okay? So if you see something here in Ukraine or in Europe in general that's a size 2X, double extra large, in America that would be just a plain extra large 1X or even just a large, you know. So I have to wear a minimum of 2X, sometimes 3X, just to find clothes that fit me. Okay. Anyway, thanks for going through that discussion. I will be very interested to hear your input as I go through and make changes to the shop. I'm really interested in, like, you could say, James, this sucks. Please put this back. I want that. I'm really interested to hear your input on that. But I'm going to make some changes to it. Okay. Let's move on. Oh, yeah. So this is something that I wanted to bring up. Watching, for example, I was talking earlier about Volodymyr Zolkin, where he interviews not just Russian prisoners of war, but also Ukrainian collaborators with Russians. And it's like, that's really hard, man. I don't know if I could do that without freaking throttling them, like, but he does it, and he's like really nice to them and stuff. Wow, last one. So you said, yeah, alpaca socks are pushing $14 to $18 a pair. Yeah, and that's the thing, is I can get these so much cheaper now in Ukraine, and they're Ukrainian made and everything. Okay. Anyway, so this dude, main executioner of Donetsk prison, the name of the prison was Isolation. Okay. Military prisoners illegally held and tortured, and sentenced to 15 years. That's all. 15 years? Like, what? And this is the thing, when I'm watching Zolkin Volodymyr, go back to that. This dude, yeah, here we go. Okay, I should just have this up. When I'm watching this, and he's talking to these collaborators, and yeah, they're getting like maximum 15 years. Here we go. This is one of the ones, 12 years maximum, 15 years. That's it. I don't understand it. I really don't. How do you torture and kill? How many people did he torture and kill? And he's got 15 years. They need more. They need more. I don't know. It's I mean, I guess it's more like European standards, and I'm used to American standards of prison. Like, oh, you have like half an ounce of cocaine, you're in prison for life. I mean, maybe that's just my own bias as an American, and of course, I've been against mandatory minimum sentences in a lot of cases, especially for drugs and things, for a long time. But we're talking about torture here, okay? Like, I mean, these cases are moving forward. That's good. And the fact that these people are being prosecuted is good, you know. But do they really take it seriously if it's only 15 years? Like, like, for example, I don't know if you've seen this little video here.
Again. In these images, you can see how a Ukrainian sniper is observing the positions of the Russian military. At some point, a military man's head appears from a Russian trench, but the sniper...
So this is what the Russians are doing, okay? So they're taking, guys that they've captured, POWs on the front line, and trying to get the Ukraine's own snipers, convincing Ukraine's own snipers to, this is like just another in a long list of war crimes, right? Luckily, oh, thanks, Summer. Thanks for coming. How somebody could do this, it's just pure evil. But at the same time, 15 years. Heck, 15 years sounds good. It means that I don't have to go to war for 15 years. It's probably what he's thinking. It's like, hey, at least I'm not on the front lines. Could be worse. Okay.
Sniper does not fire a shot. Why? Because the Russians forced the Ukrainian prisoner to raise his head so that he could be killed by his own teammates.
So, yeah, it's just shocking to me. But, this is a article from a little while back, but I just want to put some emphasis on this idea of law and order in Ukraine. Yeah, exactly. K&K, his life is going to be, improved from what it was. So, Ukraine is taking law and order very seriously. And I may have reported on this article before, but I just wanted to. So 300 new detectives, anti-corruption detectives. I'm thinking about anti-corruption efforts in the United States. I wonder how many anti-corruption. I think about the SEC, which is supposed to be fighting against one particular form of corruption in our in corporate, insider trading and securities fraud, and they are generally regarded as totally toothless in America. And here in Ukraine, it's being taken very seriously. One positive aspect of this war is that rather than being casually accepted, bribery and corruption now is being seen as treason, not just, something that's, it's okay, everybody does it. No, now it's, you're not just, breaking the law in an innocent, victimless crime. You're actually committing treason, So, and it's absolutely the case that some parts of the Ukrainian military were, for example, overcharging for allegedly for generators. Okay. But, there's a certain social theory that says that the way to prevent crime is not by increasing sentences, but by ensuring. This is my first sociology class was taught by a lawyer, and she said this: the scientifically proven best way to prevent crime from happening is not to increase the sentences, not to increase the punishment, the severity of the punishment, but to ensure prosecution, to ensure that you will be caught. It's the fear of getting caught, not the fear of the punishment that deters people. So the best deterrence is this. Detectives who can't be bought. The best deterrence is this, is to know that you're not going to get away with it. And I think this is a really important article here to bring up. And I'm sorry. Oh, Amphibious One. Hello. How's the pond? I guess. So maybe this sounds boring to you. I understand that maybe you came here for maps of the battlefield and American in Ukraine. I'm going to have all sorts of live footage of the trenches and things, and that will happen eventually. But that's not where I'm at yet. Right now, maybe a couple of months. This seems really boring, talking about bidding processes and state purchases of items, military uniforms and things. But this is a huge part of preventing corruption in Ukraine. Okay. So there's this program, a platform that was created called ProZorro in Ukraine. And it's an online platform for state bidding for state contracts. And under the Obama administration, starting, I believe, in 2010, they started to implement and I can't remember the name of the online platform, but we have most governments have some sort of a contract bidding process, but the way that it works in the United States, I worked with U.S. government bidding contracts for almost 10 years to one degree or another in the United States. And it's a major source of corruption, okay, in America. And people do go to jail for it, but a lot of it goes undetected in the United States. So anybody who tells me that, Ukraine is so corrupt and America is not, they don't know the whole story. Every country has this. And the problem is that these, somebody already got prosecuted over these in Ukraine. People have gone to jail because they bought the wrong winter coats for soldiers. That is why the ultimate reason why the ultimate stated reason why the Minister of Defense, Reznikov, was dismissed from his post because one of his deputies, like 3 levels down, purchased summer coats when they should have been winter coats, but paid for winter coats for Ukrainian soldiers. And the Minister of Defense was dismissed over this. That's how serious they're taking this. So now they're learning, this is why this is important. Okay. Now they're learning that using transparent bidding processes for supply contracts for the military, 228 supply contracts have already been signed for a total amount of a lot. It was possible. Here we go. This is the thing. Thanks to honest, transparent public bidding, it was possible to save 15% of the state budget. That's hugely massive. So now, instead of just being fearful of prosecution, 15 years if they catch me, maximum, and honestly, for bribery, it's probably much less. Judges caught receiving how much? They probably got like 2 years of jail or something. Tiny slap on the wrist. Now there's not just a stick; there's also a carrot. Okay. As it says here, the funds saved thanks to honest and transparent bidding for food are actually 100% coverage of material support for the front for a year. So they're able to save enough money that they're making a significant impact. They're realizing on an institutional level how big of a drag corruption is on the economy. And we all know that, well, okay, you should know that, for example, during the Iraq War, yeah, Jonathan M.S. Pierce is amazing. Mercado, okay, I shan't give criticism. He's done a lot of good work. Anyway, so the point is here, this is real progress against corruption. Again, not just stick, but also carrot. And so this ProZorro platform, which I haven't actually looked at, but it's amazing. Okay. I briefly showed this article yesterday or maybe the day before about mobilization in Ukraine is becoming a toxic topic for Ukraine's leadership. I know I've spoken about this before, but I'm speaking about it again because I'm hearing about it in my ear. Remember, I live with Ukrainians, okay? And I understand enough Ukrainian that I know that they're talking about it. Greg says, I've heard the Kiev Post is not viewed the most favorably, but they did list to look at. Yeah, no. I mean, Kiev Post is okay. They just, yeah. And in one of their 10 for helping Ukraine, I'm surprised Mercado didn't know them. Well, to be honest, it depends on what your media is. If you're not consuming media on YouTube and you're instead you're combing, like I don't go through Twitter, I'm not combing through Telegram. I choose not to do that. I'm consuming media in different routes. So I'm listening to YouTube all the time. So Mercado is a YouTube creator. He's not a YouTube consumer. He's a YouTube producer, not a YouTube consumer. So he may not be aware of Silicon Curtain because he doesn't actually watch YouTube all that much. It's kind of funny. Washington State, KK says, Washington State had, maybe still does, I don't know, a program that if a contractor came under bid, the savings split 50-50 while still meeting specs. That's pretty cool. I mean, I actually think that's a good thing because all too often that sort of savings is turned into what we call kickbacks anyway. So like if it's going to happen, why not just make it part of the bid? It's not a bad idea. I've worked on thousands of government bids that I've personally, done, been involved in, spec'd out, all that sort of things for tens of millions of dollars, close to $100 million in government bidding contracts that I've worked on. Okay. Anyway, but this mobilization thing, I mean, anybody who says Ukraine is not a democracy, they got another thing coming because these guys, I don't know what they thought. If maybe they thought they were just gonna let's mobilize, or they just weren't thinking. Let's draft everybody, and now they're having to pull back because holy crap, our people, it's like you just hit the hornet's nest, people. And people absolutely recognize yeah, KK, I agree. It's not really a kickback, and it actually prevents that kind of kickback corruption. Last one, I saw that on the Discord. I have a Discord too, and I haven't fully implemented what I want to do with it. But that's really something useful. It's something that I hadn't planned for that I think is good potentially. I don't know if I want to implement that on my Discord or if it'll just evolve naturally as the community evolves. Hello, Mr. Squiggle. Thanks for reminding people. I always forget to say subscribe. If you're not subscribed already, please do. I'm trying to get over the 1,000 subscriber hump. That'll help me. I'm not really counting on money from YouTube. at all, but it'll help me in terms of I am hopefully going to this month get some help with like video editing and all the back end processing and things, because when I actually go and rejoin the armed forces here in Ukraine, I'm not going to be able to do a lot of this stuff. So I will need help with that. But anyway, the point is, the public is forcing the Ukrainian government, I think, to go back and rethink this, really do this in a smart way. Everyone recognizes here in Ukraine that we do need more soldiers. But it can't be done the way the Russians are doing it. And, there have been some cases of like people getting grabbed off of the street. I mean, to be honest with you, I was grabbed off the street. Have I told you that story? Fun story. I was grabbed off the street by, military recruiters, because they were walking around looking for people. This was in the western part of Ukraine, because a lot of guys who are trying to escape the draft will go to the western part of Ukraine, I guess, and try to cross the border there. So, so there were it was local police and military police. And I was walking down the street and they came up to me and they started talking to me in Ukrainian, and I have no idea what they said. But I knew what they meant. They were like, "Get in the car. We need you to, well, they asked for my identification, and I didn't have my passport on me because I was just going to the grocery store. And so I said, I didn't know enough Ukrainian to speak. The point is, I got arrested, and they they brought me to the recruitment office, and I think they did finally realize that I wasn't faking. Like, I think they finally realized that I wasn't pretending to not be Ukrainian. Like some people I know have, or I've read, will pretend to be a foreigner to try to avoid the draft here. So once they realized that no, I really did not understand Ukrainian or Russian or any of that, and I said, yeah, take me to the recruitment station. Let's go. Let's do this. So they did. And when he got there, and the commander at the recruitment station, I had my phone on me and Google Translate, and he said something like, "Get him out of here." They literally said, "Don't call us, we'll call you. Please stop coming here and bothering us." And they got all mad at the guys who brought me in, because they were like, do you have any idea how many times he's been here?" At the recruitment station, the recruitment officer. But it actually helped. I think that's the reason that I was accepted into the Legion the 10th time I applied, is just because I think they were sick and tired of me blowing up their phones, their telegram, or their signal rather. Okay. So we still have this problem. This is a Russian op. 2,700 trucks. This is all aid that's waiting to get into Ukraine. One of these trucks has probably got my tourniquet, or your tourniquet, in it. Remember, I've ordered one tourniquet, and it came from Israel. It is coming from Israel, which probably was a bad idea to order now in hindsight, because they need tourniquets there too, I imagine. But it was the cheapest shipping, and it was supposed to be the fastest shipping, and it's been more than a month now. And I can see why. Okay, so traffic continues to be blocked at 3 checkpoints. And yeah, 100. So I think there are some checkpoints that are open, but once you pull up to one of these things, it may be pretty damn difficult for you to, if you're a truck driver, you can't just turn around right away. Secondly, they have specific routes that they have to follow in many cases. So they're not allowed to take a different route or go through a different border crossing for all sorts of various reasons, you know. So I'm not sure how to handle this, but we need to, and I speak, you know, about all of us. Or if you're in Europe right now, if you are a European, I know I don't have a lot of Europeans in the live stream today, obviously, because it's like 5:30 in the morning in Europe right now. But you know, people who support Ukraine in Europe, you know, need to start rising up in the same way that Ukrainians are like putting a stop to this, not allowing this, like, "Brr," you know, um, yeah, something needs to happen there. It's interesting. I haven't seen anybody joining on my Facebook live stream, but I know my Facebook live stream is operating, is working. So if you have joined from Facebook, please let me know. Otherwise, see, I didn't schedule the stream today. I just like went with it because I found that scheduling the stream causes some sort of weird problem on Facebook. But I know Facebook is working. So if you are logged in from Facebook, please say hello, say something. I'm actually going to comment from Facebook. Hello. And we'll see if I pop up. Just to check. Okay. Let's keep on going. So this is very interesting. So the Ukrainian government saved money. Don't ask me how much a trillion hryvnias is, but it's a lot. Okay. Saved money and is taking that rollover money and putting it into excuse me, putting it into the defense. So, you know, and this is in direct response to the protests here, where, I mean, maybe they were going to already do this anyway, but I mean, the fact that the government is like, this is what we're doing, look, is in direct response to protests by Ukrainians who have been, some of my friends and students have been protesting in Kyiv to say, stop spending money on stupid things, spend it on defense. Yeah, active democracy, you know. So I think this is a really important thing. I don't know how, you know, maybe this is more appropriate for Jonathan M.S. Pierce, ATP Geopolitics. Oh, Mr. Squiggle, Qantas is refusing to carry cargo from Israel. Interesting. Wow. And Qantas is Qatar? Qatar? Or is it Australian? Why can't I remember that? Okay. Yeah. I'm probably overly cautious, but I'd be wary of anyone in authority offering me tea next door to Russia. Thank you, K&K. I appreciate that. Let's see, Mr. Squiggle. If I'm watching from Google Chrome, I would not be able to see the chat. I usually transfer to the YouTube app unless notified. I see. Okay. Yeah, this is a reason why I wanted to put chat on the screen alongside everything, because what you guys are saying means a lot to me. And okay, Qantas is Aussie, and they're refusing. That's strange. I understand that there's a lot of. Don't get me started on Israel right now. It's Roman and Lilia were at some of those protests recently. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of my students and friends as well. Okay, but this is a kind of a geopolitics thing, but it has bearing on Ukraine because China's potential inevitable, they say, invasion of Taiwan is related to this. So Taiwan makes something like 90% of the the chips that are in your computer, in your phone, all of the high level chips that we have today, like 90% of them are made in Taiwan. They're made in Taiwan with components from a company in the Netherlands called ASML. So there's basically one company in Taiwan. Well, if this isn't a weak point in our world economy, I don't know what is. There's one company in the Netherlands who makes equipment for making chips that is then sent to Taiwan, and Taiwan has its own equipment as well, but Taiwan makes them. But ASML machines, it says here, latest chips made on ASML immersion lithography machines. So this is something that the U.S. has not taken seriously prior to this. The U.S. has been just leaking technology to China and to Russia for years, for 25 years, just letting them hack our Department of Energy servers and all kinds of at the corporate level. And I hope that this kind of thing continues. We have to lock that down. I think the idea previously was, well, let them advance, let them get more technology, let them become a more advanced economy, and they will naturally become a democracy. And it's clear that has not happened. So it's a positive thing, and I just wanted to bring it up. Now, this is another kind of switching over to larger issues. Let's see. I want to take it back here. Royal Dutch Airlines was founded on 1919, making it the oldest continuous airline operation in the world. Okay. Took me a while. Greg Watkins. It took me a while to understand. When they said the truckers were blocking the border crossing, I thought those were the truckers doing it. Yeah, it's questionable. I mean, I went through the border in Slovakia last summer, and it wasn't the truckers doing the blocking. It was the Slovakian government. So, and there were trucks lined up for miles and miles. Yeah. So this is this is being reported in the Ukrainian news. Western partners close to resolving issue of transferring frozen assets to Ukraine. And this is huge, massively. We're talking about something along the order of 250, $300 billion in total Russian assets. But I think it's important to. I thought I had another article about this. Okay. All right, that's fine. I think it's important to point out that if and when those assets do get approved, the frozen assets being transferred, it's not going to come all in one lump sum. Those assets are scattered across all kinds of different bank accounts and this, that, and the other thing. It's going to come as a trickle that sort of grows into a flood, but it's not going to be all at once. Unfortunately, the governments are going to have to fight for every single kopinka, as we would say here. Kopinka is like the penny. Yeah. So don't count on this. Okay. We still need to go to our governments and say, you need to send money to Ukraine. Yeah. So this is a really important article that I want to bring up. So the SBU blocks surveillance cameras hacked by Russia to identify surveillance. Sorry. Oh my God, I can't. All right, I need more coffee. Give me a second. All right. SBU blocks surveillance cameras hacked by Russia to identify targets in Kyiv. You may, as a network and systems engineer, I can tell you, you may not know this. That security cameras are probably the easiest thing to hack in the world. I mean, they don't even require hacking. Most older cameras that were made more than 5 years ago, let's say, if they are digital cameras and even some analog cameras, if they're connected to a server that's somehow through some network online, um, even in like 10 years ago in the United States, there was a survey done that 66% of security cameras were, you could just Google the IP address of the camera. Like if you know the network that the camera is connected to, and then you just put a little colon next to it, and or there's all sorts of different ways. Okay. You know, I mean, to get to the security server, and a lot of times the security server has no password protection. I mean, it's ironic that these I'm talking about in America. All right, the security systems often are or were made with almost no security. There is a company that I used to teach English for called Ajax, or they pronounce it Ajax. Yeah, these guys, and they make wireless video surveillance systems. They also made, if you've ever heard on our phones here, we have alarms that say, "Attention, attention, please go to a bomb shelter." It's got Mark Hamill's voice. Ajax is the company that created that app for tracking where the bombs are coming. And there's a bunch of those apps now, but anyway, these guys have really good security. They are definitely up to date, but in general, old security cameras in any country are super vulnerable, and it makes perfect sense that the Russians would be trying to use them. You know, you never know what camera you're logging into until you get in there, and then you just go to the IP address. I mean, if I wanted to, I could do it right now and show you. Just get on some random, and it's largely untraceable, and all of a sudden you're just watching someone's security camera in some random place. You know, then you do that enough times, and then you start to geolocate. Okay, what is this looking at? What is that looking at? Do we have part of a window I can see outside? What's going on? I'm sure that, you know, if Russia is stupid and petty, I should say, maybe not stupid, but petty enough to have armies of trolls who come to my channel, my tiny little less than 1,000 subs channel, and make comments on my live stream anytime I get more than 300 views on a video, I delete them immediately. I don't respond to them. I just delete them. But I get comments from trolls. If they're able to do that, then they're sure as hell able to have an army of not even hackers, just random people going around scanning, checking, surveying all over Kyiv and all over Ukraine these security cameras. So it's a real huge risk. Unfortunately, Mr. Squiggle. Oh, I missed that comment. There's a website that lists unsecured cameras worldwide. Yes, thank you. Exactly. So yeah, I want to go back and look at that comment here. Can I do that? Yes. Yeah, there's a website that, lists unsecured cameras worldwide. Yeah, so it's publicly available. So it's good that the SBU is. I mean, they need a whole program just to do this. It's incredibly difficult, though. Incredibly difficult because in a lot of cases you have to physically go to the camera, or you can't block every one of them. You just can't. You would have to block the entire apartment complex where this camera is located, just to use that as an example, or in a school or public institution. In many cases, the server that those cameras are connected to, they necessarily must be connected to the internet, because they need to be, someone needs to watch those cameras for security purposes, and so they can't be blocked. So that's a real whack-a-mole problem. Sorry for bringing up something that's a little bit esoteric to the war, but it just shows you how many fronts this war is being fought on at all times. I take this as extremely encouraging. So this is a Republican from Wyoming. Okay, Republican from Wyoming, who Ron Wallace R. That little R there means Republican. Okay, and Michael Edison in the kilt there. And I don't know if you can look at this T-shirt. It says Cowboys and Cossacks, Wyoming, Alaska, Ukraine. Apparently, Cowboys, Cossacks, and Highlanders. But what's really cool about this is to see people who are even though one of them is wearing a skirt. That's a joke. I know it's a kilt. I actually own 2 kilts, by the way. Maybe I'll wear one for my live stream tomorrow. Anyway, it's good to see people who are very likely to be pretty right-wing and rural from America actively supporting Ukraine, and one of them is a representative. So, Edison 61 is wearing a cowboy hat and a Vyshyvanka. Quite an interesting look. If you don't know what a Vyshyvanka is, that's that shirt right there. It's an embroidered shirt. Interesting, traditional Ukrainian, but very similar to designs worn by the Vikings. I have a couple of Viking shirts that are, obviously reconstructions, but they're basically Vyshyvankas. So it shows you that cultural connection between Ukraine and Scandinavia that goes back thousands of years. Do they all wear kilts? Who, Highlanders or Vikings? I'm confused. I'm a goth, so I have goth kilts. Yeah, I'm about as much Scottish as I am Cherokee Indian. So, I'm about as much Scottish as I used to be Cherokee Indian. Like 1/16 or something. So I don't wear plaid. I'm just a goth. Yeah. The guy in the kilt is of Scottish heritage. Yeah, I figured that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the point is, yeah. So, okay. All right. I'm just glad to see that 62-year-old Wallace is dressed in a kilt. Okay, because if Edison was the guy in the kilt and Wallace was wearing the Vyshyvanka, I would be very confused. Okay. It's just a really good sign. Okay. It's just a really good sign. That's the point. So because it's nice to know. That's why I'm doing this live stream right now. Yeah. Okay. Because it just goes to show that this issue about the border crossings that's being linked to aid from the United States is a lot of crap. Okay, so border crossings are going down. They go up and down seasonally and based on the economy in America. And they talk about, 10,000 illegal immigrants a day coming into America. And what they don't report on, and what people don't understand, is that most of those people go back to Mexico like the same day, because they don't want to live in America. They want to come to America to work, which helps our labor market and helps businesses, and they want to go and live at their homes in Mexico where it's cheaper. The same thing that people do here in Ukraine, where I live close on the Hungarian border. Hungary wants to take over, or Orban at least wants to take over the southwestern part of Ukraine near the Hungarian border, and the Hungarians, ethnic Hungarians who live in that part, they don't want to be part of Hungary. They want to have the advantage, the economic advantage of living in a cheaper place and working and getting paid EU wages. And that's exactly what apprehensions reached nearly 11,000 in a single day. And I'm just telling you, that's bullshit. Jake Broe has talked about this. Many Ukraine YouTubers have talked about this already, how this whole border security issue is a red herring, in the sense that America has had this problem for at least 3 decades. And problem in quotation. It's not a quote unquote problem that Americans want to actually solve. The ones who have the ability to solve it, which are our representatives and business people, they don't want to solve it. They just know that it's a great way to take advantage of racist and ignorant voters. How did your friend break her ribs while playing the bagpipes? Was she just squeezing the bagpipes that hard? I'm so confusing. So confused. Everyone had a cowboy hat but me in Wyoming. Yeah, wow. I lost my virginity in Wyoming. I don't know why I just said that, but it just hit my head. With a Korean? It was just that's totally random. I'm sorry. I was young. It was a long time ago. She was not wearing a cowboy hat. I can tell you that. Okay. So I just want to I'm come to the last part of my stream here, and I want to talk about I just keep coming across these articles and YouTube videos of Ukraine needs to negotiate, and Ukraine needs to accept, or the West needs to accept that this is a stalemate, and Ukraine needs to give up its land, and we just need to end the war as quickly as possible. And I just cannot emphasize enough how much that is a Russian psyop. Anytime you hear that, ultimately that's an information war that's coming from Russia. Really. So, and the reason number one is right here. Russia remains committed to subjugating all of Ukraine. So if we stop fighting at any point, this map is all going to turn red. Okay? There's not an option. Russia will take over all of Ukraine if Ukraine just suddenly stops fighting. Okay? Ukraine is not going to suddenly stop fighting. All right? But what we're going to see then is a slow, grinding war for decades across Ukraine. And Russia could probably take about half of Ukraine before they run out of steam. And once they do that, then they're going to reconsolidate and they're going to attack somewhere else. They're going to start attacking NATO. They're going to use, and then China. We are not just saving Ukraine. We're not just saving democracy by fighting Russia here and now. We are preventing World War III. Okay. So again, no alternative to the total liberation of Ukraine. The current lines are indefensible. That is to say, this line down here, and we can go to the deep state map if you want, but this line across the east and southeast of Ukraine, it's just open plains. There's no KK. She didn't leave her hat on. Why didn't Trump build the wall? Yeah. I mean, the reason Trump didn't build the wall is because that's that constant ebb and flow and shift of border crossers. Yes, Cheryl just said border crossers just want to work. We want their labor. Even people in Arizona believe the hyperbolic stories they see on TV. And there's always bad cases. There's drug running and all of that stuff that that needs to stop. I named my second daughter Cheyenne, where I worked for. That's interesting. That's where I met Mimi. Strange. I named all my children after city place names. Interesting. Dodge City. Okay. All right. Cheyenne. Okay. Anyway, the point is that this line here, it's just open plains. This is a huge problem. There's no mountains. There's not like any really forest. Okay. It's always going to be a threat along this line. Okay. And Russia knows it. Russia knows that this is a threat. And they know that let's see if I can zoom in here. This southeastern part of Russia, if they keep it as that, if this remains occupied as Novorossiya, it's sticking out there like a sore thumb, like when you stub your big toe and you bump into it all the time. It's indefensible. They know that they have to take a bigger chunk of Ukraine, or this occupied area is always going to be under threat, at least in their minds. And that's all that matters. Right. So concessions damage core international principles. Right. So recognizing Russia's territorial seizures, okay, even in exchange for peace, would undermine critical international laws banning wars of conquest, ethnic cleansing, human rights violations, torture. Mimi was her name. It's very strange that I remember this, this early in the morning. I can't remember my own name, much less someone I had sex with 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Okay. Very strange. Okay. The wall can be scaled, cut through, tunneled under, eroded, gone around. It's a symbol, not an article. I when I saw stuff about the stupid wall, there were great memes of like a big, tall, like 5 meter tall wall, and then there was like a Mexican standing next to it with a ladder. It was just funny. So anyway, so basically to allow Russia to get what we're doing is if we make peace with Russia, we're just basically saying, you know what, Russia, it's okay that you did all those things. This guys like this who did all this torturing, they'll never be prosecuted. And then Russia will know that they can continue to get away with it, and they will. And it'll get worse and worse and worse. And then China will do their thing. Once China invades Taiwan and the U.S. is all tied up with that, that's the moment Russia is waiting for to attack the Balkans. Not the Balkans. I'm sorry, the Baltics. That's the moment that's the chess game that's happening here. So China wants all tied up in Ukraine, okay, bogged down in Ukraine, so that when they invade Taiwan, the United States can't stop them. And then when the United States is all bogged down in trying to switch things over and trying to help Taiwan and spread across two fronts, then Russia will invade the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. That's the steps that they're trying. The next steps in this chess game. So Crimea and Donbass. This is number 4. Crimea and Donbass are strategically and economically vital for the Russians. Okay, for the Russians. That's the most, and for Ukraine as well, but especially for Russia. And yeah, the first three reasons. Anytime I see this thing about how, I don't know, in the media about how we need to make peace. Yeah. But people at the same time, and this is also talking the Euromaidan Press, but this is another report. So 5 realistic scenarios of the war in Ukraine. I keep hearing this thing, well, all wars end in negotiation. I disagree. I say that some wars, maybe even most wars, end in negotiation. But historically, throughout time, no. Not even close. So these are the scenarios that they're talking about. I think that this is pretty useful, but they've got them sort of broken down. So total destabilization. That's what Russia is going for here. Ultimately, this is hybrid type World War III. Let's just call it World War III. This is a very, very likely scenario. Okay, in 2024. This is what Russia's trying to make happen. This is why they're stirring up hornet's nests in Venezuela and the Houthis, Iran, and they want to have our resources, the West's resources, spread all over the place, so that they can do what they want to in Ukraine and in the Baltics and in whatever place they want. For 2024, this is the most likely scenario. The war will continue. It's just back and forth. It's not the same as a stalemate. Okay, it's not a stalemate if behind the lines Ukraine is taking out the Kerch Bridge, taking out the Russian Black Sea Fleet or other Russian fleets. It just means that we're holding them in this place while we attack them in other places. And of course, Russia is trying to do the same thing on a global or worldwide scale in terms of hybrid warfare. A frozen war is, a stalemate. That is something that's very favorable for Russia. Okay, that's a situation where we have a political or diplomatic end to the war. Okay, that's not the same as peace. It is absolutely not peace. Negotiation for the end of the war does not mean peace. Okay, that's a disaster for Ukraine, and what it means is that this World War III, this will not be a low-level positional war. It will not be a hybrid type war. It means that World War III, when it finally does come, it'll be like bigger, much bigger, because Russia will be and China will be in a much better position for that. That's what they're going for. And I mean, my personal feeling is that if we are in a positional war, and um, if the freaking money and material supplies, if Europe and the United States, if these are ramped up the way they say they're going to, uh, then I think that this is a real good chance. We're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna win in 2024. Not yet, but I think that we have a good chance of this, and I think that if we all just continue to work on this, don't give up, continue to put pressure, continue to organize organically, on both fronts here in Ukraine and in each of our home countries, we can create that unified response. Victory for Ukraine, 3.76%. We just need to be realistic about that. We're not there yet. It's not going to happen yet. Okay. If you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, great, but be real careful because it might be a train. Just a trouncing, and international monitors afterwards rotated on a regular basis. Yeah. Dr. Gerdes, who is awesome, by the way. And I hopefully am going to go on his show sometime this month. I don't know. I'm going to talk to him next week, I think. But Dr. Gerdes was saying, he doesn't want to see the total collapse of Russia, for all sorts of reasons, because of the potential for this total destabilization. And I'm telling you that total destabilization is exactly what Russia wants, and but it's going to backfire on them. And I think that ultimately a breakup of Russia is inevitable and necessary. Breakup of Russia into different states, basically. Oh yeah, Cheryl says the problem is Matt Gaetz' leverage over Mike Johnson. Yeah, I think Matt Gaetz knows that Mike Johnson is gay and is using that as leverage. My gaydar is about 85%. Oh, hi, Chris. Thanks for coming. What an introduction. My gaydar is about 85% accurate. Hi, Chris. Sorry about that. Yeah, Matt Gaetz of all people, the raper of underage girls, the date raper is essentially controlling our foreign policy. Yeah. I mean, the thing is the breakup. Instead of saying no, we can't let Russia break up into different states. This is a scenario that we need to be psychologically and logistically and strategically prepared for. Okay, and that's why it's important to recognize the reality. Last one, I think there's a large part of the U.S. government that doesn't and has not wanted. I don't know, maybe some parts of the CIA, but has not wanted that. That's why Chicken Kiev. That's why George Bush, who, by the way, was the head of the CIA previously. I mean, the first George Bush. That's why he came out against Ukraine leaving the Soviet Union in 1991, I think it was. So I don't think it's the dream of most of our government. Okay. So I just, in contrast to this, and, earlier I was talking about, and I'm sorry for those of you who came in a little bit late. I started out, in the middle beginning, talking about how different things are this year versus last year at this time. Last year, I didn't have enough power to be able to do this. I think I had just gotten a battery for the house, but we didn't have it set up. And we actually kind of still don't. Well, no, I mean, I could run off of battery power. It's like a big, giant truck battery. and we got an inverter for it and stuff, but it's not like completely connected and hooked into the house power and stuff. But I just want to just point out how I'm going to repeat it again for those who didn't hear it at the beginning. Yeah, I don't think World War II ended in negotiation. I mean, not exactly. It ended with a freaking nuclear bomb. You know, the negotiation was just like, fuck, what do we do after this? You know, yeah, the Muscovites will always exist, but then they can be contained. That can be contained. And again, yes, you're right, KK, international monitors. But it's a lot easier to monitor the territory of Muscovy than it is to monitor, you know, the Russian Federation as it is. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, last one. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So I want to point out that you may think, oh, Ukraine, everything's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But in fact, we're much better off now than we were last year. And the Western help, Western air defense is really, really making a difference. It's the reason you're talking to me. Okay. But yesterday I did a little experiment. I used my VPN, went to the most popular, by the way, this is the most popular news site in the United States, yahoo.com. Okay. I was a little bit surprised. I thought it was going to be Fox News, but it wasn't. So this is the most popular news website in America. Can you find Ukraine? Can you find Ukraine in the news? I'll give you a few minutes. Somebody let me know tell me where you find Ukraine on this website here. It's just a picture. I took a screenshot of it, so I can't scroll through it or anything, but let me know if you find Ukraine here anywhere. I see Ukraine, the word Ukraine, one time. One time. This is a motherfucking problem. This is a motherfucking problem. The only article that's on the front page talking about Ukraine is this article. They sang a victory, then a Russian rocket struck. Now, I understand why. Cute girls gets attention. You know? And they sang a victory, then a Russian rocket struck. And it's a tearjerker of an article. But ultimately, it's all about poor Ukraine, how terrible Ukraine is. It's haunting to watch. And 20 minutes later, they were killed, which is shocking. And these women need to be memorialized, and I hope that they are. But the fact that this is the only article about Ukraine on the Yahoo website, that's obvious. Now, there is another link. I don't know if you were able to find it, but in the upper right-hand corner, it says Russia-Ukraine. That's the only place on the entire front page, even if you scroll down, and I did scroll down, where you can find the word Ukraine. If you were in America, you know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cheryl, all of these. So I was on CNN last night. It wasn't great, the coverage. I check all of those as well, but mainly I go through Google News, and of course it's all customized for me, so I don't usually see what other people are seeing. But that's why I did this experiment last night. So the problem with an article like this, while it is a tearjerker, it kind of, in some ways, supports Russian propaganda that Ukraine can't win. Okay. Oh, poor Ukraine. It's very easy to go from we have to help them to we've tried to help them and it just didn't work. Oh, it's so sad. Let's move on. Let's move on to Blake Shelton and Bad Bunny power bombs. Whatever the fuck that is. You know, let's just move on. Let's move on to whatever's the latest thing that's happening in the world. That's great, K-Bill. But that shows you that Yahoo or whatever news site you're using, they are tailoring their news to their record of what you have gone and seen. So it's useful to just every once in a while use a VPN. This is not going to turn into a VPN commercial, by the way. Or use a incognito mode and go and check the website and see what comes up. Yeah, mine too, Cheryl. But here we are. So I dug down a little bit further because I looked at this link in the upper right hand corner that says Russia, Ukraine. So I went and I wanted to see what are the articles. So there are some articles. You have to look for it. Okay. But then this next thing here is what gave me some real red flags. Okay. So it says how to help. It's right on the front page. You just scroll a little bit past the headlines and look at what it says. How to help. If you'd like to support organizations dedicated to helping people in Ukraine, donate here. And what does it say? American Red Cross, International Red Cross, Care International. And then you can scroll to the right, and I did. And we have UNICEF and UN Refugee Agency. I'm sorry. Then there's International Medical Corps, which I know, all of these groups say they have stuff in Ukraine. If you go on their website, I went and checked International Medical Corps, all of these. But we know the Red Cross, the International Red Cross, not the Ukrainian Red Cross, the International Red Cross is shit in Ukraine. They are actually doing nothing at best. And the Ukrainian Red Cross, the money that goes to the International Red Cross does not necessarily go to Ukraine, okay, or to the Ukrainian Red Cross. And the same is true with all of these organizations, okay? UNICEF Ukraine, I actually have a short on my website of stuff that's being donated by UNICEF to Ukrainians. And unfortunately, it's worthless. It's like blankets. Okay. And Ukraine doesn't need freaking blankets. We got plenty of blankets here. Like there's blankets and sleeping cots. And it's like, no, we don't need that. No. Okay. We need like warm socks for soldiers. We need tourniquets. Why can't UNICEF donate tourniquets? What the hell? Okay. And then when I finally do see an article on that page, this was the first article that popped up. And this is coming from Reuters. Reuters. Ukraine, Russia accuse each other of attacks. You see what I mean? You see, this is the media doing this both sidesism, where they're presenting, both sides of the story as if they are equally true. We know time and again that Russia just lies about everything. And I already talked about this yesterday or the day before. Multiple YouTubers have already shown in multiple articles. It's widely known that here's the headline here, and it says at the beginning of the article, story: 13 people were also injured in heavy shelling. It's like most of the time this is just bullshit. It's bullshit. They've been talking about this forever. Oh, the 8 years, 10 years of war. Belgorod governor complains after 2 months. This is, you know, stop having these articles, these both sides articles. The international press, and particularly the Western, and look, I have this article up, and within 5 minutes, it takes me on to something else. Let's get distracted. Let's not focus on Ukraine. Let's get distracted, move on to, pretty soon we're going to Japan, and then we're moving on to Blake Shelton and his latest girlfriend. Yeah, an I will unsubscribe letter writing campaign. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Greg Terry's charity is a 501c3. That's really great to know. Okay. Yeah, Yahoo is the top because they often have a deal, like a special deal with like cell phone providers. When you click on whatever browser you have, it defaults to that as your homepage, and they pay money for that access. Yeah, so I mean, maybe a lot of people just ignore Yahoo, and it just comes up as the number one link because it's the first thing people go to, and they don't know how to change their homepage, or it's hard coded into their cell phones. But be that as it may, so that's the end of my stream today. I just wanted you to kind of try to keep your focus on Ukraine, and if you have friends and family who are wandering off into these other areas and getting caught up in the propaganda, try to communicate with them, try to fight that in whatever way you can. If you have to send them articles, like this, to remind people that capturing all of Ukraine, eliminating political leadership, that remains Russia's main goals. They haven't stopped that. Whatever other lies they say, Moscow's readiness for negotiations, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, and there is no alternative to the total liberation of Ukraine. So, yeah, that's the end of my stream today, guys. I just want to remind everybody that I'm a little bit disappointed that nobody has joined from Facebook today. And I know my live stream on Facebook is working, so I'm not sure why. That's very sad to me. But I guess I'm going to try it again tomorrow, and we'll see. I just want to remind everybody that we had our first awesome, successful delivery of supplies to the Ukrainian army, to the International Legion for the Defense of Ukraine. So these will be worn by foreign fighters, a lot of them Americans, Brits, Europeans, South Americans, Japanese, Koreans, everybody who comes to Ukraine because they believe in freedom and they believe that defending democracy around the world is important. And they also need warm socks. So if you can help, please do. You're welcome to purchase anything else that's up here on the screen. But I think I said before, I said at the beginning of the live stream, I'm going to change this because I've got donations for ceramic plates, but it's not enough to actually buy them. So it's like $100 worth of donations. I've got donations for a basic equipment package, but it's not enough to actually do the whole thing. I've got donations for a plate carrier, but it's not enough to actually buy the plate carrier. So I think I may take some of these down or move them around and focus on 1, 2, or 3 specific things that we can buy the whole thing, that you can for a small donation. If it's $10 or whatever, you can't, even $1 is going to help. So it might be like rain gear, uniforms, tourniquets, and socks, something along those lines. And I'll take the larger stuff down a little bit. It'll be further down. I'm going to do that rearranging. I say that, but it's going to take me days and days and weeks. So I want to thank everybody who came today. Thank you, Mr. Squiggle, K. I'm so 2 ceramic plates. I have them on a set. I have them on the website for $600. I think I can probably get a set for $400. So and I think we have, I think it's $100 donated so far, or $150. Yeah, yeah. It's just that's good to know, K, because yeah, $600 is the you know the price for these usually, but prices vary and they have been coming down. Anyway, thank you, K. Okay. There are some people. Thank you for watching. If you're on Facebook, and I want to thank everybody who is watching the stream today. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I appreciate that. I do need to make that more clear, K, because I want to give people options for how much they want to donate, but then maybe also it's not clear how much these things actually cost, and maybe I need to put that in the description for the item. Like it'll say something in here, and it might say 2 ceramic armor plates cost between 400 and 600. So to give people a better idea, so they don't donate $50 and think that they've just bought a ceramic plate. So thanks. Okay. So I want to say do побачення, everyone, and Slava Ukraine, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.